Hey everybody, happy Monday. I apologize, my week got a little bit away from me, so we're recording on a Monday, and the video is probably coming out on a Wednesday or so, and we had to do it in a new location, so I apologize if the lighting and kind of setup's a little bit off, but we'll be back to our normal next week, hopefully. Also, if you want to understand what the Monday email practice is, check in the subscription for the kind of deeper introduction to what this practice is. Check it out. Also, leave comments if you have any questions afterwards or you can follow up with anything. Happy to. And so please feel free to leave comments. And also, if you can subscribe, greatly appreciate it. That being said, let's jump in. So last week we looked at kind of freedom and exploring the concept of freedom. What is freedom? Like, if I'm driven to hunger and I need to eat and it's like my basic instinct for survival, is that a free act when I'm eating, or is it not a free act? And how, what could we think about that? This week we're continuing with freedom, but we're talking about the freedom of choice. When does choice stop being free, or is providing choice always a free act? So what we're really talking about is kind of the world will offer me a plate of opportunities and choices. And let's say if I'm a parent, I have to support my child in the choices that they get to make. And so I, in some ways, take responsibility for choice and somebody else's freedom. And the question is there a place where too much choice is overwhelming? And actually shuts me down, and so I'm not actually acting out of a place of freedom in making those choices versus a reactive state or a state of having processed everything that now I've come to, this is right for me. And so we're really asking you to question that a little bit so you can go deeper into the concept of freedom to explore, really what is freedom, and particularly around choice. The practice is communication. Does your communication leave yourself and others more or less free in the exchange? So for example, someone might say, hey Aaron, I didn't receive that information that you said you were going to give to me, last Wednesday, and now it's Friday. And I'm like, oh man, shoot. And now I'm panicking. I feel a little bit ashamed that I didn't get that information in a timely manner. And I pivot my whole day to getting that information to that person because I feel guilty. Now I could say that I would call that reactive. My guilt might be driving my choice to get that information to that person right now when they communicated with me. On the other hand, I might take that information and shoot, yeah, I did drop the ball, I apologize. I'm going to set some time aside later today or tomorrow and get you that information when I can. That's a different response in that I took in the information, I looked at my plan for the day, and I said, this is when I can get that done, even though I'm behind. Or it might be an emergency situation. I might say, because it's an emergency situation, it is right for me to pivot my entire day and get that information to that person. So there's a few ways that we can think about it, but it's really important to explore, am I making the choice from a way in which I've processed? Am I communicating that back? Or am I just responding to the pressure that might be coming towards me? And vice versa, when I communicate, is this reciprocal happening? Am I putting pressure on somebody to communicate back to me in a way that leaves them unfree? And how can I get better at that? The value for this week is I am the catalyst for my own change, freedom. Are you making choices as a result of having processed what has come towards you or acting out of a reaction? How can you take an active role in your own change? So a lot of stuff comes to us on a given day. Some of it we can process. Some of it we take fully to heart and we live with for a little bit. But we are really, in this particular value, exploring, am I changing because some external stimulus pressured me to change? Or am I changing because I got the feedback I processed it within myself, and then I said, hey, I think this is actually the right move to make. So it's similar to the example of communication. From this value lens, I'm showing up saying, hey, if something's not working, I'm going to make the change. It's going to start with me. I am the only one that can get this done, and that's the freedom that I have. Like, I can say I don't want to change, but in this value, it's about making the change. I show up with the intent to make the change as needed, and then particularly through the lens of freedom, I'm saying, am I making the change as a result of engagement with what is around me, or am I making a choice out of reacting to what's pushing me in one direction or another? So just to wrap up, we have the infographic, and we use the term Goldilocks, and if everybody remembers the story of Goldilocks and the three bears, Goldilocks had to try Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear porridge, and Papa Bear's was too hot, Mama Bear's was too cold, and Baby Bear's was just right. And so we're using that analogy as an example of there's a balancing middle ground to the amount of information we have that allows us to make effective choice. And so on one hand, particularly in the world we live in today, there's information overload. I can get so much information, it can shut me down, and I don't actually have the capability of putting it all together and bringing it into practical application until I've lived with it a little bit. Like, time has passed and I've kind of experimented and used it, and now I know how to practically apply it. So on this side, I have to figure out how to get rid of this stuff that's unnecessary and only focus on the stuff that can be really helpful. On the other hand, if I have no information or very limited information, it's hard for me to make an informed choice, to really process something and get it out. And so in both these cases, there's kind of an ability to act because I don't have enough information, and this side to overact because I have too much information. And what we're looking for is that healthy balance in the middle where I have just enough to make what feels right within me after processing everything, the right choice and to take the path that makes the most sense. And then from the practice standpoint, depending on the amount of information, I can be overreactive or underreactive, but really I'm looking to be able to consciously respond, having thought about something, and out of my own inner initiative, which we might call partially freedom, my ability to respond. And then in communication, ensuring that communication is responding in a way that's really true for me, that's not a reactive me, but a truth from within me, and also doing that with other people so that they can respond. And finally, I am bringing this home with, anything that's not working there, it's on me to make the shift and change that needs to happen in order for others to shift and change around me. So this is the Monday practice for this week. Freedom of choice. As always, this is a big topic, freedom. Take little bite sizes. And as we say, let's go forward and awaken the possible.